in January of 49 BC, one man stood at the edge of a shallow river in northern Italy. Behind him, a battle-hardened army. Ahead of him, the full weight of Roman law. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar. The river was the Rubicon. Roman law was clear. No general could cross that boundary under arms. To do so was treason. But Caesar also knew something else. If he laid down his command and returned to Rome as a private citizen, his enemies in the Senate would destroy him politically and possibly physically. He crossed, and with that single act, the Roman Republic, a system of shared governance that had endured for over 4 centuries, cracked open. What followed was one of the most consequential civil wars in human history. A war between 2 former allies. A war that would end the Republic and set Rome on the path to empire. This is the full story of Caesar against Pompey. Welcome to General History Class, the channel where history is told clearly, accurately, and completely. If you're the kind of person who wants to actually understand the past, not just skim it, subscribe right now, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who loves history. Let's get into it. To understand this war, you need to understand what broke before it started. The Roman Republic was built on balance. 2 consuls shared executive power and served for just 1 year. Magistrates rotated. Tribunes could veto legislation. The Senate served as an advisory body. No single person was meant to dominate the system. But the system depended on something fragile: cooperation. By the 1st century BC, that cooperation was gone. Decades of land reform conflicts had divided Roman society. Wealthy elites had swallowed up small farms. Veterans returned from foreign wars with nothing. Reformers who tried to fix this were murdered. Political violence became routine. Then came a turning point. In 88 BC, a general named Lucius Cornelius Sulla did something no Roman had ever done. He marched his own legions on the city of Rome. He proved that a commander with loyal soldiers could override the Senate. Entirely, though Sulla eventually retired and tried to restore the old system, the precedent was set. Force could decide politics. The Republic survived. The rules had changed. Into this broken system stepped 2 extraordinary figures. Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, known as Pompey the Great, was the dominant military figure of his generation. He cleared the Mediterranean of pirates. He defeated King Mithridates of Pontus. He reorganized the eastern provinces into stable Roman territories. By his early 40s, Pompey had celebrated multiple military triumphs and was arguably the most powerful man in Rome. Gaius Julius Caesar took a different route. Born into an old but not dominant aristocratic family, Caesar built his career through political skill, public spectacle, and strategic alliances. He served as Pontifex Maximus, Rome's chief priest. He aligned himself with the populares, politicians who championed the interests of ordinary citizens. He was deeply in debt, but politically brilliant. For a time, these 2 men, along with Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome, formed an informal power-sharing arrangement known today as the First Triumvirate. It was not a legal institution. Was a deal. Pompey got land for his veterans. Crassus got financial leverage. Caesar got the consulship and a military command in Gaul. That command changed everything. If you're learning something new, drop a comment below. Tell us which side you would have chosen, Caesar or Pompey. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next deep dive. Over nearly a decade in Gaul, Caesar transformed from a clever politician into one of the most formidable military commanders in Roman history. He conquered vast territories, commanded roughly 10 legions, approximately 50,000 men, and built an army that was fiercely loyal to him personally. Meanwhile, the Triumvirate was falling apart. Julia, who was both Caesar's daughter and Pompey's wife, died in childbirth, severing the personal bond between the two men. Crassus was killed in 53 BC at the Battle of Carrhae against the Parthians, removing the balancing third partner. Pompey drifted toward the Senate. He was appointed sole consul during a period of urban unrest in 52 BC. The Senate increasingly viewed Caesar as a dangerous threat. The crisis came down to one issue: legal immunity. While Caesar held military command, he could not be prosecuted. He wanted to transition directly into another consulship without giving up his army. His enemies demanded he disband his forces first and return to Rome as a private citizen, where criminal charges almost certainly awaited him. Neither side trusted the other to disarm first. Negotiations collapsed. Emergency powers were declared. Caesar was ordered to give up his command. He refused. He crossed the Rubicon. The war began. Caesar moved with extraordinary speed. He marched south through Italy so quickly that most towns opened their gates without resistance. Pompey, unprepared for immediate confrontation, made a calculated decision. He withdrew his forces from Italy, entirely crossing the Adriatic Sea to Greece. His plan was to use the eastern provinces, allied kingdoms, and Roman naval superiority to assemble a force large enough to crush Caesar. Italy fell to Caesar without a major battle. But the war was far from over. Caesar turned west first. Pompey's veteran legions in Spain posed a serious threat. Near the town of Ilerda, Caesar faced experienced Pompeian commanders in difficult terrain. River floods destroyed his bridges. Supply lines were cut. For a time, it looked like Caesar might lose. But Caesar adapted. He built improvised boats, restored supply routes, and systematically cut off the Pompeian army's access to water and escape. Rather than forcing a bloody battle, he maneuvered them into surrender. Spain was secured in months, and in a move that defined his strategy, Caesar released the captured soldiers, a calculated act of clemency designed to weaken opposition morale. We're halfway through, and the biggest battle is still ahead. If you're enjoying this, hit that like button. It helps this video reach more history lovers like you. Not every front went Caesar's way, however. In North Africa, his lieutenant Curio was destroyed by Numidian cavalry under King Juba. 2 entire legions were lost. The African grain supply stayed in Pompeian hands. It was a sharp reminder that this war had no guaranteed outcome. In Greece, Pompey had assembled a massive coalition, perhaps 45,000 to 60,000 infantry, along with thousands of cavalry and eastern allies. He controlled the sea. Caesar gambled on a winter crossing of the Adriatic and landed with only part of his army. He was outnumbered and divided. At Dyrrhachium in 48 BC, Pompey broke through Caesar's siege lines and inflicted heavy casualties. It was Caesar's most serious defeat. His army retreated in disorder, but Pompey, cautious by nature, did not pursue aggressively. That hesitation would prove decisive. The two armies met again at Pharsalus in Thessaly. Political pressure within Pompey's camp, from senators demanding a quick victory, pushed him into battle. Pompey had numerical superiority, roughly 45,000 infantry and 7,000 cavalry. Caesar had around 30,000 infantry and far fewer horsemen. Pompey planned to use his cavalry to overwhelm Caesar's right flank. Caesar anticipated this. He positioned a hidden fourth line of infantry, armed with spears, specifically to counter a cavalry charge. On the 9th of August, 48 BC, the plan worked. Caesar's concealed infantry shattered Pompey's cavalry. With the horsemen routed, Caesar's veterans enveloped the Pompeian flank. The line collapsed. Pompey fled the battlefield. Pompey sailed to Egypt, seeking refuge. But the advisors of the young king, Ptolemy XIII, made a cold political calculation. They believed killing Pompey would win Caesar's favor. Pompey was stabbed to death in a small boat just off the Egyptian shore. When Caesar arrived days later and was presented with Pompey's severed head, ancient sources say he turned away in grief. These two men had once been allies, had once shared power, had once been family. Civil war does not just destroy armies. It destroys relationships. Pharsalus did not end all resistance. Fighting continued in Africa and Spain. But the Republican cause was broken. Caesar accumulated extraordinary powers: dictator, consul, Pontifex Maximus. The institutional balance the Republic was built on eroded beyond repair. Within 4 years, Caesar himself was assassinated, stabbed by senators who feared he had become a king in all but name. The Roman Civil War was not simply a clash between two ambitious men. It was the result of deep structural failures. Professional armies loyal to individual generals rather than the state, legal systems exploited for political protection, veto powers weaponized to create paralysis, and economic inequality that left ordinary citizens desperate for anyone who promised change. Caesar and Pompey did not destroy the Republic on their own. They operated within a system that was already fracturing, but their decisions and their inability to compromise accelerated the collapse. What came after was not restoration. It was empire, and the cost was measured not just in tens of thousands of lives, but in the end of a 450-year experiment in shared governance. History remembers Caesar as the victor, but the deeper lesson is about something more important than one man's ambition. It is about what happens when institutions built on trust are pushed past their limits, when ambition, fear, and mistrust replace restraint and cooperation. That is the enduring inheritance of the Roman Civil War, and it is a lesson that still matters today. Thank you for watching all the way through. This is General History class, where we break down the events that shaped our world. If this video taught you something, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share it with a friend. We've got more deep dives coming. See you in the next one.